According to the United Network of Organ Sharing, an average of 20 people die daily waiting for a transplant. And the darker truth is, one organ donation can save up to 8 lives. So the real question is, do you want to be the person to save these lives? Someone close to you or someone you may know is on or may get placed on the organ donation list and is waiting for an organ to save their lives. So in this speech, I will discuss why you should become an organ donor and just how rewarding it can be personally. Like I said, one organ donation can save up to 8 lives or more, but many do not understand the need for organ donors. And others have their personal reasons on why not to become an organ donor, and then others don't even know how to become an organ donor. But in this speech, I will discuss in detail all 3 aspects of organ donation. I will first start by discussing the need of organ donors and why people become organ donors. It is hard to believe, but according to the Donate Life American organization, there are over 115,000 men, women, and children waiting day in and day out for transplants. To put this number into a real-life perspective, the largest football stadium in the world cannot even fit the amount of patients that are on the waiting list for organ transplants. Every 10 minutes, there is at least one person added to a transplant waiting list. So with that being said, over 140 patients are added to the list daily. And one day, it might be someone you know, or it could even be you. Many people that are on the organ transplant list or have family members on it say that this tragedy came in a blink of an eye. And there are other reasons other than the amount of deaths that contributes to why we need to be donors. According to organdonor.gov, 95% of American adults say they support organ donation, but only a little over 50% are actually donors. Donating organs is also not just about saving someone's life. Yes, that is the biggest part, but the gift of an organ to a family in need is a rewarding feeling that all need to feel. But many do not see the organ donation in this way. Here I have a graph that kind of puts in perspective how many organs we need daily. So from the year of 1988 to 2016, there was this. The orange line shows patients waiting at the end of the year for a transplant. The blue line shows donor organs they had transplanted, and then the green line shows donor organs they had received. So as you can see, in 1988, there was a little gap between how many they had transplanted and how many still needed transplants. But in 2016, there was a huge gap because now no one wants to be organ donors, and there's more people needing transplants. Since I have talked about why we need organ donors and why people become donors, I will now discuss why people choose not to become donors. There are many myths that come along with organ donation, and one of these include the false truth that once you become an organ donor and get sick, that doctors around you will not work as hard to keep you alive and healthy. But like I said, this is a myth. For one, a doctor is responsible to do everything in their power to save the life in need before ever wondering if they're an organ donor. Also, the hospital you're being treated at does not check to see if you're an organ donor. There is another organization that does so once the patient has passed away. Also, according to the New York Times article, The Reluctant Organ Donor, the doctor who is working to save the life of the injured is not the same doctor who harvests the organs once the patient has died. Another common misconception that comes along with organ donation is that there is an age limit to donating your organs. But there is no set age or cutoff limit when it comes to donating your organ, according to the Mayo Clinic. The decision to use organs is made off of strict medical guidelines, and the doctors will decide if your organs are okay for donation. Also, many people do not understand what is being harvested from their bodies once they die. So I have another graph here that shows what is being harvested once you die. So out of 500,000 organ transplants, 49.3% was kidneys that were needed, 26.1% was the liver, 12.2% was the heart, 5.9% was the lungs, 4.2% was the kidney and pancreas, 1.6% was just the pancreas, 0.5% was the intestines, and then 0.2% was the heart and lung. And as you can see up here, 62.3% of people who need transplants are men, and 37.7% are women. Now that I have spoke about the false truths about organ donation, I will now leave you with some information on how to become an organ donor. If you have now decided that organ donation is for you and you believe that being able to save up to 8 lives is as rewarding as I do, then I have a few tips on how to become an organ donor. Many people believe that you have to go to your local DMV to become an organ donor, but that is not true. You can go to the DMV and request to be an organ donor, and then a little red heart will always be placed on your driver's license. There are always other ways. There are many websites you can go to in order to register to become an organ donor. These websites include donatelife.net and organdonor.gov. This is what the sign-up sheet would look like, and it only asks for a few things. That is your full name, date of birth, gender, address, and email address. It's as simple as that. Becoming an organ donor can be as simple as clicking a button. It is very rewarding to say you will change a life one day. The need for organ donors is high, and the rewarding feeling and gift you will give more than one family outweighs the false myths and comes along with organ donations. In this speech, I discuss why we need organ donors, why people don't want to become organ donors, and just how to register to become one if you decide to do so. So always remember, one organ donation can save up to 8 lives. Just sit back and think, wouldn't you want someone to be gracious enough to be an organ donor if you or someone that you knew was on the waiting list? Today and every day is a beautiful day to save lives, so sign up to be an organ donor and be the change we need to see in the world.